Pope Francis has been talking a great deal about the importance of Catholic family life, and indeed all family life. So a devout Catholic family decided they'd invite their local priest around for dinner one night. So he came appropriately attired in his black trousers and coat and his big white Roman collar. And in the course of the night he noticed that one of the children, one of the little boys, couldn't take his eyes off him. He was staring and staring. And so the priest wondered why, and so he said to the boy, he said, "Tell me, little boy, why are you staring at me? What are you staring at?" And the little boy pointed to the priest's throat. And he then understood that the boy was talking about the Roman collar, looking at the Roman collar. And he thought, here's an incipient vocation. So he thought, well, he said, why do you think I'm wearing that? Do you know why I'm wearing it? Little boy nodded his head and said, it kills fleas, ticks for 24 hours. Moving on now to the gospel. I think we have very busy lives, and metaphorically today you've sort of climbed the mountain. You've parking your car and coming here today. You've come up to be somehow united more fully with the person of Christ, to get that strength which he alone can give us. And he's called us to this. You say, why? Because you were called through baptism, and you've been called all your life to have faith in him and know that you needn't be afraid of anything, because he's with you always to sustain and strengthen you. And I remember reading this yesterday. They had an interview with Pierce Brosnan in England the other day. He, as you know, used to play James Bond. And he said that the thing that kept him going was his Catholic faith. His wife died at 41 from ovarian cancer. And then a few years later, his adopted daughter died at the age of 43. And he said, when I wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning in this darkness of this terrible hole, the only thing I can do is turn to God and ask for help. My faith has kept me going. And he said, without it I would have collapsed. And that's from the ex-James Bond. Now for us, of course, it's something similar. None of us escapes the upsets of life, deaths and sicknesses, creeping old age, worries about our children and our finances. All that's part of life. And we need to be reinforced and strengthened, not by a glittering Christ shining like the sun, but by him, humble, simple Christ, coming under the appearance of a piece of bread, a host. And he comes with all the same power that he had on Mount Tabor. And he comes with one purpose, to unite us more fully with himself, to strengthen us in our endeavours, to help us to fulfil our commission in life that he's called us to, which is to live a life of faith, to live a life where we care for each other, to live a life that can bear afflictions patiently and offer them with him on the cross. So when we come to Mass, when from our busy lives, this is our time when we focus on God, focus on Christ, focus on something beyond ourselves. And so, in the words of consecration, Christ made part of the Last Supper again. Pope Francis says, the Mass is the presenting of the Last Supper. And you and I are part of it, like the early disciples were. And we're given the strength from that supper. And we are part of the offering of the cross, because it's a sacrifice of him, saying, yes, here's my body, here's my blood. And during the week you'll say, well, here's my body, I'm doing the best I can, it's paining, and I've got troubles. My blood is the sacrifices I make for my family, my children, my career, whatever I'm doing. And they're all caught up in this wonderful moment with Christ presenting it to God the Father. And he pours his blessings, of course, his Spirit upon us. So there's a constant process, and it's a constant thing of not being afraid with life and what it offers. There's many things in life that upset us: the violence, the wars, the dishonesty, the corruption. And people say, God, it's a terrible world. But no, Christ has made it a wonderful world. He's come to fulfill our hopes, to fulfill our dreams, to give us strength. And it's an inner strength. Pierce Brosnan found that. His was in a time of acute sorrow. Ours would just be in the time of getting through the day, putting up with the ordinary vicissitudes that come out of nowhere, and knowing that Christ was with us. So that's what, to me, the gospel is today. The apostles had that wonderful moment. We didn't share that. Then they had to come down the mountain road. You've got to go out of the church, down the mountain, back to your house or car. And you leave all that. You leave this moment where you've been close to God. This moment where you've been caught up in the Eucharist, and you go back to the banalities of life. And that's what it's like. But we need to come from time to time to be united with each other in faith, and to let Christ come to us, to reaffirm us, to renew us, to strengthen us, and saying to us, do not be afraid. That's what he said to Peter on the mountain.